Let's set up my rod and reel for my first fishing trip this year. But first, huge shout out to Seagar for sending me so much line. And like, we'll talk about these lines, but when I had the chance, I had to ask for the 1,000-yard spool, baby. But today we're gonna spool up with some of this R18. Maybe a lot of you may not know about this. However, this fluorocarbon holds a really special place in my heart because when I started bass fishing in Korea, this was the line that was recommended to me. I've used this line for so long and I love this stuff. And now that it's here in the US, it's my chance to talk about it. And today we're spooling up my custom Witch Doctor tackle rod that I designed specifically for free rigging. And for this rod, I think a 12-pound test is gonna pair beautifully. But first, let's get this old line off. If you don't have one of these, this is from Berkley. This is one of those things that if you put your line in here, all I gotta do is hold down the button and it just pulls all that line off of my spool. When it comes to spooling up fluorocarbon line, the biggest thing to help you avoid line twist and it's sitting weird on your rod is remember which way this line is coming off this plastic spool, right? So as you can see, it's coming off this way. Now we want to put it back onto our rod. This was the line bending in the same way, right? So kind of like if you ever seen like old tape recorder, right? The tape goes from one circle to the other circle on the same side. I have this fancy tool that clamps down to my table to hold my spool while I'm spooling up. However, if you don't have one of these, you can do my favorite thing, the Crocs method, where you take a stick or a chopstick. I'm Asian, so I always have one of these. Put that through the line. You're gonna put those into the holes of your croc, and while you're wearing your Crocs, and then you can spool it up that way. So it holds your spool in one direction and it keeps the line coming out straight. And when I spool up my reels, I like putting my line all the way through my line guides on my rod. It just helps the line lay nice and flat on that spool of your reel. So I got my line on my spool with an arbor knot, and I'm just gonna start reeling that line in, making sure it stays nice and flat. And I really like this R18 fluorocarbon for a few different reasons. The first one, and probably the main one, is that how soft the line feels. It feels like a mono almost, which is great because it's gonna help with your casting distance. It doesn't feel like a stiff wire, if that makes sense, and helps a lot with line management. The big thing also is when you tie your knots, the knots tie down really nicely, and it also has really strong, like the line itself is really tough and has really great knot durability. I've never pop this line unless I wanted to, right? Like if I got snagged, I'm gonna try to pop the line. But generally, I've never broken off on a fish. I've never had a fish break it. And the reason why this R18 is so strong but also soft is it has a double layer construction. So it's like an outside layer and an inside core. And those two layers gives this knot that suppleness that makes it feel really nice and cast really well, but also keeps it super strong, makes it not super strong. And like I said, it's just a line that I've had so much trust in over the years. It literally has carried my fishing journey. And that's how I get my rods ready for the new season. Thank you, Seagar, so much for sending me all this line. Check them out, seagar.com. I'll have them tagged here as well. Seagar, leave a comment. But what are you waiting for? Get out there.